I'm here with my friend and ultra runner Jason Romero. Jason, thanks for joining us today.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit about your diagnosis, first of all? Because people can see here that you have your outfit, your running outfit on, and you're wearing kind of a cloth here that says blind on it. So tell us about that and how everything came about with that.
Sure. So it's kind of an interesting thing, but I always wear it. I'm legally blind. And with that, it doesn't mean that I don't have light perception, because I do have light perception, but a person is legally blind when they have visual acuity that's less than 2200. So my visual acuity kind of fluctuates between 2200 and 2400 depending on the day, sleep, fatigue, just a variety of different factors. And then also your field of vision. So people have peripheral vision. You can also be legally blind if you have a field of vision which is 20 degrees or less. So my field of vision is like 15 degrees. So I look at you, I kind of see like around like that, like I'm looking through a tunnel. So I have what's called retinitis pigmentosa, and I was diagnosed when I was 14 years old in those good old school screening. I went to a screening and one of the nurses said that I couldn't see, and I thought she was nuts because I was seeing just fine. And we went to a specialist, and after a few appointments we got to a fella, and he looked in my eyes and said I had retinitis pigmentosa. I didn't know what that was. And his next question, I asked him, what is that? And his next question to me was, well, what do you want to do when you get older? And I told him, I'm going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Me and my brother would be the first kids to go to college and all that. And I was programmed by my mom that we were going to do something with our lives. And he looked at me and said, forget about that. You're going to be blind by the time you're 30. It's like another 15, 16 years. And learn to do something with your hands. Most blind people are unemployed, and you got to start adapting now. And the nice thing was that I was a teenager and I didn't believe any adult about anything. So I just ignored him and continued on with my life. And, fast forward from 14 to now, I'm 45, so it's 30 years later. And it's a degenerative eye condition, so my sight has decreased quite a bit to right now. Like I said, I'm legally blind, so I see about 2400, about a 15-degree field of vision. I'm night blind, so at nighttime, I look more like a traditional, or I think what people would think of being blind, basically with little to no light perception. I walk around, I'm kind of bumping into things, got a hand out, I use a cane. I use actually a really strong headlamp at nighttime to do that as well. But that's my story with the blind sign and retinitis pigmentosa, and it's been quite a journey going from kind of the sighted world now into the low vision, and now into legally blind, and eventually someday into non-sighted.
So obviously he's adapted really well to his diagnosis and has proved the doctors wrong, not only by being here today and still having the vision that he does, but also by not giving up on a lot of his dreams. Just a couple of things that he's accomplished with running alone include 6 world records in the visually impaired division for the 50K run, the 100-mile run on both road and trail, and also the 24, 48, and 72-hour run for the road. He was the 2014 U.S. Blind Marathon Champion. He was also on the 2015 U.S. Paralympic team, and as well as the 2015 U.S. Spartathlon team. And he's also the first blind person to complete the Leadville 100, the Prairie Spirit 100, the Keys 100, Black Canyon 100, the Bear Chase 50K and 50-miler here in Denver, the solo rim to rim to rim, Trans Puerto Rico Crossing, the Great Floridian Ironman, the Wisconsin Ironman, the Silverman Ironman, and also the 72-hour run. So that's pretty awesome. In addition to that, Jason is the fastest blind runner in the history of the Badwater 135. If you're not familiar with that race, you definitely need to look that up. Anyone who completes that race is a monster in my eyes, and Jason's done it not only blind, but he's the fastest blind runner ever to do that. So that's quite a resume. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into ultra running?
So I've always kind of liked running, but this habit or obsession, as it's developed, kind of began in 2007. And I was on an assignment in Puerto Rico with General Electric, and I was running a business there for them. And I have 3 children. One of my children has been diagnosed with autism. And there really wasn't a school there. We had patchwork together a solution to make sure that he got the services that he needed and kind of the educational supports, but there wasn't a school. So when it came time for him to go to school, we decided, let's start a school. and we started a school for Sage and other kiddos around there, and we needed to raise money. So that's kind of how it began. It began with an effort and an attempt to raise money for the school, and that started out with basically a marathon. And then after I did that initial marathon in 2007, there was the Las Vegas Marathon. Then it kind of just progressed from there and went on to the Boston Marathon, and then to triathlons and Ironmans. And then I got back to Colorado, and the year I was turning 40, I was actually going through a divorce, which was extremely difficult for me, and I kind of turned to running as my therapy. And on January 1st, I was going to turn 40, and I said, I'm going to go run 40 miles today because I'll turn 40 this year. And that was the most painful thing I think I've ever done in my life because I wasn't equipped or trained to run ultras. And I went out, and I remember I wrote a note to my kids that they still have. We have special boxes, and I see it in their special box. They still have it. And I signed up that year for what's called Leadman, and that's a series of 5 races in Leadville, including the Leadville 100 run. And I got through the first 4, which is the trail marathon, and then I did the 50-mile bike, the 100-mile bike. There's a Leadville 10K, and I got to mile 85 of the 100. So I call myself Lead Boy. But that was really the beginning, and since then, 2010, I've just went on and I run all over the place, it seems.
You do. I know this much. That's very true. So you recently also started a documentary that's called Running Vision. What is Running Vision? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I was, earlier this year in 2015, there was a race across Puerto Rico that I had heard about through just reading local ultra running blogs. And it turned out that a group was going to try to run across Puerto Rico. And I had lived there for 6 years, and I love the island, and my heart's there. So I found out who the race director was. It was a select invited group, and I begged the guy to let me in. And after a talk, I was one of 8 runners that was going to do it. So what happened was a young enterprising filmmaker decided that seemed like a really cool thing to be part of. And what I told him was, well, you can film it, but you also be part of my crew and help me to finish it, and we can collaborate on that. So this young man, Taylor Shane, basically went down to Puerto Rico, and he did a documentary of what I thought was going to be about the race, but it turned out to be, I guess, probably kind of half about the race, then half about me. And it really chronicled moving across Puerto Rico, but also the journey kind of living a life where you're going blind. And so it's called Running Vision. Just had its first Denver premiere a few weeks back, and it will be available, I think, on DVD and then on an online format in the future, but the filmmaker's working on that right now.
It's very cool. Where else can we see it? Are there going to be any more premieres coming up or any other showings?
So there's going to be some premieres. It's going to be entered into film festivals, and there may be another showing here in Denver at a local running store. I am getting ready to do a transcontinental run, and there will be some different premieres along the way there on that route. Okay,
so running across Puerto Rico, running entirely across a whole country was not enough. So now you're going to run across America.
So yeah, this year was kind of like my big year that I thought was happening, and this year was 183 mile crossing of Puerto Rico, Badwater 135, and then I attempted the Spartathlon in Greece, which is a 153 mile run. Only got to mile 100 there, but I'll go back next year and get that done.
Yes.
And like a year ago, I all of a sudden, like in a split second moment, I was volunteering at a homeless shelter where I'm on the board at, and it came to me in a minute, not even a minute, it was a second, I'm gonna run across America. And I remember it came to me like clear as day, and I was sitting there like, I gotta tell somebody this to hold myself accountable, otherwise I'll get scared and I'll never do it. So I called my mom and texted her and said, I'm running across America. And she said, great, I'm in. And I was like, oh no, what did I just do, So it's called Vision Run USA, and we have a website too, visionrunusa.com. And I'm going to run from Los Angeles to Boston starting in late March of 2016. And the plan there is to run 50 miles a day nonstop with no break, and hopefully be able to finish just a little over 60 days to be able to cross there. And right now I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to do it. I have no idea how I'm going to fund the thing. I have no idea how to train for the thing. I have no idea how I'm going to be supported going across desert. I'm charting the route right now. But this is like the ultra of all ultras, and not just in the running component, but the planning, the logistics, just going seriously into the unknown and having no idea what's going to happen. But I'm going to make it happen.
Wow, that's okay. The way you're talking about going into the unknown is the way I approach like a half marathon. So I think you're on I'm starting to realize just what level you're at compared to me, because I would never ever dream of trying to run across America. That's so cool. That's very awesome. Wow, that's very cool. I'm just excited to hear how that goes. I'll be tracking you for that. So running, has been a coping mechanism. You helped to get a school started to help out your son and a lot of other kids. It's done a lot of things for you in terms of getting through some personal challenges and helping other people as well. What has it taught you?
Running has probably, next to my kids, has probably had the biggest impact on my life, I think, that I can identify. And it's all of those little one-word things that we all sit back and reflect on for what we should be. Running has helped me to develop and grow my faith, because there's times when, frankly, running is not a solitary thing. Although we think this body is just ours, it's not, and we're not here on this earth by ourselves. So always knowing that there's always something else with me, and basically God is helping to get me from point A to point B, and it's not the body. It's having faith. It's even more than the body and mind. It's taught me patience. Whenever there are very, very difficult times when it looks like you can't take that next step, your feet are blistered up, or you think you may have broken something or strained something, or you're hobbling, or you're vomiting, or whatever, or a car hits you, or whatever may happen, if you have patience and you can clear your mind, things will get better, and things always do get better, and it's a metaphor for life. It's taught me about two other things in life that it took me a long time to learn this. Because as I was younger and growing up, I was a lawyer, as a business guy, and I was into climbing the corporate ladder and making money and getting promotions. And I always thought that education or certain accomplishments or rubbing elbows or playing the political game or different things like that get you ahead, but they don't. And what running kind of really solidified for me was that it was really about hard work and what I call persistence and determination. And frankly, the whole visually impaired and blind thing I don't believe it's held me back at all. And the reason why is because I think I'm one of the hardest workers out there, and I have persistence and determination, because frankly, if you can persist in an environment where you have extremely devastating circumstances, or you're continually getting battered. Think about going in the ocean, you just have that wave after wave after wave, and it's just pounding you, and you're exhausted. But you have persistence. Sooner or later, there's going to be a break in those waves, and you're going to be able to get past there, and you'll get out to the open sea, assuming that's where you want to go. And if you persist, it will happen. And if you're determined, it's the same type of thing. But a lot of times what happens is pain gets to a threshold, or fear gets to a threshold, where it will stop people and stop their ability to persist and really thwart their determination. And pain and fear, I think, are factors where it stops the human spirit from moving forward, and people give up. And what I've found is that the extra component to be able to get past there is frankly faith. And it's not about trying to overcome and saying pain is temporary or fear of the unknown. It's basically having faith that it's something that's supposed to be done. And that's really kind of why Vision Run USA is going to happen, because the reality is that when I knew I was called to do it, I said, I'm not going to do it just for myself. I got to do this for something larger. And the larger thing that I realize that's happening in my life is I'm going blind, and I'm experiencing all these different things that are affecting, the blind. And I've lived a lot of my life as a sighted person, and now I'm living my life and transitioning to being a blind person, and the issues that affect the blind, and that's why I'm running Vision Run USA, are massive. Like the unemployment rate for blind people, 70%, compared to 5, 6, 7% in different parts of the states. It's unacceptable. The depression and mental health affects blind people at twice the rate it does the general population, and there's got to be correlations for all that. But the other thing that I've realized too, in going from the sighted world to the blind world, is that also blind people are tremendously adaptive. They can adapt like nobody else. Like, what I've realized is probably one of the greatest things that's helped me to be a successful ultra runner is I'm able to adapt to obstacles in a race, like moment by moment. It doesn't stop me. I'm just, whatever the next thing is, we're gonna find a way, and we'll keep moving forward. And I think I attribute that to, frankly, having the experience of being blind, where I've had to adapt to a lot of different things. I don't drive at night. I have a night meeting with some dignitaries in Puerto Rico or government officials. I got to figure out how am I going to make this work when I can't see their face. I don't know who they are. I'm going to have awkward situations, having dinner, shaking hands, asking questions. I got to listen to voices, so I'm not looking over here and the person's over here, because they're not going to understand that I can't see. So that's kind of the larger reason for the Vision Run USA, is to bring awareness to issues that are affecting the blind and visually impaired, and hopefully be able to shed light and inspire some folks along the way.
Wow, well, you definitely inspired me. I've known you for a little while now, and I had no idea you had this kind of resume until we were preparing for this interview, and just hearing you talk is it's incredibly motivating. So thank you so much for being here. So where can everybody learn more about what you're doing? I know you have a couple of websites. Would you mind sharing those with us quickly?
Sure. So the primary website for me and for what I do now, which is motivational speaking and some other additional consulting stuff, is relentlessromero.com. And then there's a website for the Run Across America, which is basically a website to try to help build support, sponsorship, and for tracking the run, and that's visionrunusa.com. And then there's a Facebook page, and I'm trying to get as many likes as possible, because more likes and sharing, the more that folks will sponsor, and I'll be able to try to get some support there. And that's facebook.com/visionrunusa. And if there's one other thing that I could mention too, absolutely. For Vision Run USA, I am asking for any and all support right now, and the things that are needed there. Obviously, there's financial support, and there's a way to make a donation that's tax deductible. 100% will go to support the run. But in addition to that, your thoughts and prayers are very important. There's also going to be an opportunity for host families. So what I noted was it's going to be hopefully a 60-day run, and each of those 60 days we're going to be looking for host families across the nation to try to link up. And there's a lot of people who have different family in different parts and remote areas of the country. The route should be solidified very soon. And just like I said, keep us in your thoughts and prayers. And visionrunusa.com, you can track the run. It'll start next March.
Thanks so much for being here, Jason. So excited to track your Run Across America in the spring. Can't wait for that. Check out full episodes and more information about running in Denver at runningdenver.com.